Alright, we've got a couple packages, but let's begin with the big one first, because this is taking up too much space. That came off completely. Alright, there we go. And then we've got two more packages. I should be able to cut right there to start them opening. Oh, sorry. I've got just enough. Keep trying to do this. But first important one, and then this one fell down. But this is something that was delayed from last week. Cybersix. There we go. And I guess we'll begin with that since it's on the top. Cybersix on Blu-ray. Yeah, this was supposed to arrive last week, but this is the only one that got delayed to the point where I guess Amazon was like, I'm not sure where this package is, and if you don't know where it is after this day, then blah blah blah. And I just had them send me a new copy. And here it is. With looks like Japanese with English subtitles, region A. What does it mean to be human? Always a fun concept. Which is probably why when something has the concept but doesn't execute it very well, it's kind of disappointing. But yeah, I don't know much about this. I'll probably read the back and find out, but I'm kind of trying to go through this. We have Chihayafura, the season 3. It does say 3, right? Anyways. I don't think I already had season 3 in this limited edition releases. Well, I don't know. I don't know when I placed this order. I just know that it seemed like this one had been sitting around for a little while and then it finally shipped. That's a 3. Whether or not I have the energy to go in and try to watch this, I don't know. Three of those. Then we've got stuff. But what I'm not sure about is this Blu-ray? I guess so. It just doesn't feel like it. I see an English dub. So region A only. 620. It's just it's a DVD-sized container, so it feels very weird. It looks like we got some art notes, story sorts of stuff. I'm definitely curious what the art in here is, but I kind of don't have the energy. I do, however, want to see what this bigger wall, there it is. Just put this little lip here. Not sure how well I remember these characters, but I guess it's interesting that they went through the trouble to make sure that it was folded in a way where you could see her face, which is kind of the centerpiece of this whole thing. Now I just fold it just like that to go back to that. Okay, that's kind of nice, I think. Get this back in there. Next up we have Classroom of the Elite Season 2. Should be Season 2. It says it somewhere, right? Second season right there. Okay, good. On regions A and B. Should be English dubbed. And, you know... Oh, there I am making weird noises. Yeah, okay. Apparently it happens... Ooh, different underneath the slipcover. Apparently it happens when I, am completely exhausted. Unless it's been happening more, I just haven't noticed it. Oh well. We got dots. Alright. Well, discs 1 and 2. Very simple, straightforward. This is a show which you might more enjoy for its content than specifically for the artwork on the discs, but interestingly, you know. Nope, I just did it again. Interesting. Peace, Tamer, the complete season. And again, this is one of those shows I watched as it aired. Okay, I'm having trouble seeing audio. So English dub, regions A and B. It does feel like it's a while. I liked the... I do like it when it's different underneath the slipcover. This one was... I liked the character designs. God, these are just being so annoying. Let's just get in there and fuck this plastic up, because Jesus. Shiny. Characters. Alright, next up we have my Dress Up Darling limited edition version. I never actually finished this. I watched all but the last episode. I don't know what I'm doing with the plastic here. I'm just taking off whatever happens to come off. It's interesting. I can definitely feel that there's you know, some texture. This white lattice or whatever behind her definitely has something to it. Oh, there we go. Oh, hold on. I thought I felt something right there. I see. Because it's always this, but there's just a little bit peeking behind her arm there. That's strange detail. Oh. Well, I probably won't go too far with that, since I like to put it back in the DVDs or whatever. What can I say about the show? It was definitely nice. I don't think I stopped it because it was bad or anything like that. So disc 1, hold on. That's A and B. I guess I didn't look at the back, because I guess this might be a Blu-ray and DVD release, because here we have DVD. Disc 1. Okay, so this is the Blu-ray DVD collection. You may think that I should know this stuff considering I ordered it, but yeah. Okay. I guess I'm trying to think what I should be saying aloud. I know one thing is, that's her smiling, but because of the way they drew it, and this was something that threw me for a loop in the opening of the anime itself, it looks almost like she's actually hanging her tongue out, which initially made me think that she was a spicier character than she was, but it was just the way they were drawing her mouth. It's not bad. It's strange. And then this would be additional limited edition stuff. So let's take a peek. Because we've got stickers. It's actually kind of interesting. That looks like stickers that can be really used for a lot of stuff. This looks like, what's this? It probably says right there in calendar and cosplay planner. Okay, I was gonna say, seems like a calendar. 2024? Okay. I was gonna say, if it was 2023, that would be pretty bad considering how late we are. More postcards. Feels like more than the other one, so you'd think I would be interested in, and while I am kind of curious, I just don't have the energy. Let's finish up with More Than a Married Couple But Not Lovers, whose name I'm familiar with, but I don't really know the content of it. Let's see. Ugh. Sorry. I see an English dub, regions A and B. Alright, and that's getting set. I really do appreciate that they've been doing that a lot. That said, my thumb is starting to hurt from trying to deal with all these plastics. Okay. Maybe what's on those would make sense to me. Oh, swimsuits. But I don't know what they are, so I guess that's that. Here's this week's anime DVD collection update. So let's see what I'm going to be able to talk about, because my energy is definitely nowhere near what it would normally usually be. I'm trying to remember if last week I mentioned that I was going to be making pumpkin pies last week, and I did spend 2 evenings doing that, so I kind of did not get any recovery, and so was definitely exhausted closer to the end of last week. But then the two things that made that even harder, so I baked a bunch of pumpkin pies for a company barbecue cook-off, and you know, I'm not that physically fit, so when the actual barbecue happened, I of course completely exhausted myself with all the little helping I did, you know, not taking into account the pumpkin pie stuff. But it also did not help that it rained, and as one of the few people that actually brought an umbrella and stuff, well, I mean, other people brought umbrellas, but they didn't like bring them out of the cars and stuff, so I ended up escorting a bunch of people around the barbecue pit area to kind of help them get to umbrellas, to get around the area, etc., etc. Which is all fine, but it did mean that I was completely gone end of the day Thursday, and I really needed Friday to recover. But then Friday ended up being a 12-hour work day. I guess actually you would just call it that, because how lunch is lunch if you're at work. I was working from home, but anyways, you think, okay, weekend to recover, but unfortunately Saturday was a grocery shopping day for more stuff, and then Sunday was back into baking pumpkin pie again for the next event. So I baked pumpkin pie last night and tonight for a Diwali celebration at work tomorrow. The idea being that they're going to try and serve the pie in an interesting way. I'm very interested to see how it works. But I'm still doing all that, and Wednesday is going to be a beginning of a Thanksgiving cooking for Thanksgiving potluck at work. And so I'm doing a lot of stuff. I don't even know, it's the 12-hour thing on Friday last week was because of a big release stuff that's happening this week, and
I guess we'll have to see how that goes, because it's been a little crazy this week so far. Not just for me, but stuff. So we'll have to see. And you'll see that some of this is shown because I didn't really play any video games, and I didn't really, I did not watch all the anime I normally would. Ow. And I guess I have a little migraine starting that I didn't realize. So let's see if there's things I can remember to talk about for all these various series. First of all, with my Friday friend, we continued watching Jobless Reincarnation. It's a rewatch for me. Watching it for the first time. I see my notes here. My notes are out of date because they are from last week. But we basically watched Season 2 episodes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4 through 8. Which covered a lot of interesting stuff. And watching some of it dubbed was interesting because I felt like there were certain events that, while in the first 3 episodes of the season, I'm like, okay, they kind of underplayed how badly the things this one person did actually were, so maybe you wouldn't feel as angry about that person. There's also some of the stuff in this episode that's like, oh, that could be kind of construed as being outright racist. But they toned it down a surprising amount. And I do know that when they did that stuff, it did make me miss some of the original Japanese voice actors, because they definitely played those characters a lot more cutely. I don't think that the English dub is necessarily bad, but you probably would get more from that watching subtitled. Big surprise. But the thing that surprised me the most was there's an attack that happens in that's interestingly enough, it made me realize that I had to kind of compare it to the Japanese. And they didn't change the sound effect, but I think they may have altered the effectiveness. I've noticed that with the TV at the same volume level, Japanese with English subtitles was actually louder. And I don't know if it was just that, but it also meant that the attack felt like it had much more of an oomph presence that did not feel as strong in the English dub. And I don't know how much of that was just that the English dub in general is quieter, or maybe that's the level they had to do to feel like people could hear, and maybe Japanese is a little easier to make out when there's other loud noises going on. It's very possible. I'm not sure, but it was an interesting observation. So, interesting stuff. Chances are, this coming Friday, I don't remember if there was anything else. So there's a possibility he'll probably catch up and finish Season 2 of Jobless Reincarnation. Then we'll probably start poking around some of the other series, rewatching some of the stuff that is airing right now, but has dubbed episodes and he's watched them dubbed. So I might have more comparisons. Helk episode 18. That one was definitely interesting because I am tired of the flashback stuff. I want to see Helk and Anne for management. But I appreciate this episode because it was definitely one of those episodes where it didn't have as many things happen in it, but the few things it wanted to have happen were given much more emotional weight to them. And while I can't say it was completely effective because of my tiredness of being in constant flashback mode, there's a part of me that thinks that a lot of people would really like it, and I can't really fault them for it because maybe I felt a twinge of something. It was nice. The Saint's Magic Powers Omnipotence, Season 2, Episode 6. I guess kind of neat and interesting. Topically, just right for me to mention a couple of things to something else. Let's see. The Eminence and Shadow, Season 2, Episode 26. Definitely interesting stuff happening. I don't know that I would say it's necessarily interesting as much story-wise as it is what's being set up, and it's nice to see some of this stuff happening, but I'm not quite sure what all I can say. Definitely a little concerned about something, but not a concern as in like, oh, series, I'm not sure if I'm going to like you anymore, but instead more like, oh shit, I hope that's not pretty sure it's not, but I hope it's not. Maybe you know what I mean. If you don't, I'm giving the Disgraced Noble Lady. I did not watch this week's episode. I just did not have any energy. My Daughter Left the Nest and Returned, an Ezra Adventure, episode 7. Interesting hints as to some stuff. Interesting seeing some characters interact. I kind of want to see more, but I'm trying to think if I have any thoughts. Right now, nothing. Dr. Stone, Season 3, Episode 16. I think at this point it's going a bit more into less, oh, this is science, versus more, I guess they're in the middle of war. Did not watch the next episode of Rurouni Kenshin either. Rising of the Shield Hero, Season 3, Episode 6. I was a bit worried at the end of the previous episode if they were maybe moving forward too quickly. But I guess it felt a little bit better this time. Why can I say that? I was a little bit worried about something because it's like, okay, they set up something that happened to another character that's supposed to be reminiscent of what happened to our main character. But with our main character, it felt more right. It made a lot more sense. This one was just kind of an eye roll sort of thing. And almost like some unique elements to the show are maybe being given out like candy. But I feel like it did something I kind of like. Mostly, like I've mentioned that one of the things that's nice about Rising of the Shield Heroes, I do like a lot of the characters. Even in Season 2, I liked a lot of the characters they introduced. Maybe not the bad guy. That bad guy. You know who I mean. But, you know, you take that aside, you know, the characters are generally kind of neat. And I felt like this episode did a little bit more with the new characters it's creating than I would have guessed. And it's like, okay, well, this character that I didn't care as much about, no, I actually kind of like what they did with them in the grand scheme of things. So, you know, I think Season 3 is definitely not falling off the, well, like Season 2 might have still. So, okay. Goblin Slayer, Season 2, Episode 6. I guess some okay stuff. I mean, it's interesting that a lot of series seem to be going for the swimsuit stuff now. I feel like there were a couple that I didn't watch that might have tried to do that, and I didn't have the energy to try to. Oh, yes, because Crash Course in Naughtiness, I think, might have done one, and so did Girlfriends Like You thing. But Goblin Slayer did too, and it was what it was, I guess. I wish I could say that if for people that are really into that, if there was anything of note in that. But for me, I mostly enjoyed the scene more because of how Goblin Slayer handled it. Which he handled it in a very Goblin Slayer way. And they had other things that they did that were just neat. I guess I'm interested in seeing the next episode. Kingdoms of Ruin, Episode 6. I guess some okay stuff. I'm a bit worried that they keep trying to set up this, no, don't do revenge, just begot revenge. Like, fuck you, I just want to see this guy get revenge. Now, granted, I think we've got a better idea on why there can be some sympathy for the other side to a certain degree. But you know what? Fuck them. Fuck them all. Free Reign Beyond Journey's End, Episode 10. I think we all kind of knew what this episode was going to do. So this one was more of an execution and a kind of interesting backstory on our main character. And I do like the fact that the preview kind of suggests that it's not stuck in this part of the story forever, I guess. I felt like the show did have a goal it was moving towards, and it felt like it had slowed down for some reason. So, Good stuff, I think. Ragnar Crimson, episode 7. I thought it was a nice episode, but I don't know if I like where it's going. Mostly because it feels like it's denying us, the viewers, I don't know, just things we need. Things we want to see from the show. Granted, I do have its doubts if it was able to completely do that, if it would be able to stay entertaining. But I don't know. I guess you could call that a flaw in the show for now. Vexations of a Shut-In Vampire Princess, episode 6. It's okay stuff. It's not the most exciting stuff, given that they've introduced the underlying mechanism that makes it more interesting than just its fundamental premise. But I think for the most part, we're mostly watching this show because the moment-to-moment can be entertaining. I don't think the pretending to be strong stuff is good. I think it's actually quite cringe, and I don't enjoy watching it. It doesn't lean on it too heavily, but it's not as light about it as Eminence and Shadow. But I guess I'm curious to just see what it's going to do. Now, sorry. Forgot to scroll down. Faraway Paladin, Season 2, Episode 6. I really like this episode. I don't think a whole lot happened in it. It was kind of a breather. Not that the other episodes so far have been super action-y, but interactions happened that I liked seeing happen. It was nice. Butareba, the story of a man turned into a pig, Episode 6. I'm blanking on if I have any thoughts on it. Sorry, blanking. I Shall Survive Using Potions, Episode 6. Some interesting ideas in there. Some of it surprises me, though. Like, I guess the show's deliberately not going a direction where she makes a potion of instant psychically knock out everybody else. I guess I have to remember what the abilities she specifically asked for were, and maybe that's too much. But it seems like they're deliberately not doing certain things. And I don't know. It continues to be the same sort of show it has been, I'd say. Tear Moon Empire, Episode 6. And the show's definitely not leaning on its fundamental premise as strongly. It's getting a bit more shoujo-y, but it's still okay. The sandwiches actually looked kind of tasty. I wanted to eat one. Spy Family, Episode 31. Good stuff. Very good stuff. Very funny stuff came from it. I think we need clips on YouTube so I can maybe link Family or something like that. Avi Turner's Magic Should Be Special, Episode 6. I guess it's continuing forward with what it's doing. I guess to a certain degree it feels like our main character isn't fighting against the future. He's just fighting against other stuff that would just be there regardless of what that future. So to a certain degree it doesn't feel as exciting as it probably could be. Oh well. Berserk of Gluttony, Episode 7. Okay, I suppose. Shangri-La Frontier, Episode 7. The show somehow manages to keep shying away from character interactions, and it's really quite unfortunate because it's hard to say if I feel like I care as much about the action because it's kind of meaningless. Like, at the end of the day, it's almost the anime saying, hey, let's show off this video game that we made that can't really be made, and not really giving it a purpose or anything like that. Which, it's not the only one doing that, but it's, I don't know. It continues to kind of go, I guess. I'm not sure how much I care about the premise. I'm still waiting for it to give me something to really, really care about. 100 Girlfriends Who Really, Really, Really Love You, Episode 5. Like I mentioned, I did not watch it. Just not enough energy, too much relationship stuff. The fact that it advertised itself as the swimsuit episode kind of, I wouldn't say it turns me off, but it just kind of makes me think, maybe I'm not missing too much. Yeah, I have to think if I'm going to try to catch up on all this stuff. I might try. We'll have to see what my energy is. Dark Gathering, episode 19. I guess it was okay. Interesting stuff. Just sort of a little too interacty with the ghosts, I suppose. I did not watch the Demon Sword Master of Excalibur Academy. There's no energy tonight. Or Ron Kamanohashi's Forbidden Deductions. I'm interested, but I guess I'm prioritizing recording this video because I still haven't eaten dinner yet. I need to eat dinner and start the processing of this, and I'm waking up an hour earlier tomorrow morning. Blah, 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 blah. We'll have to see. A playthrough of A Certain Dude's Vermo Life, episode 7. I have to say, I kind of didn't like some of it. It was okay watching, but the big problem is it's very similar to Shangri-La, and that's pretty much about a guy playing a video game, and they haven't given us any reason to like it beyond that. Like, I guess to give Shangri-La some, I do want to see what happens when the main character and the girl character interact, because what little they did is actually interesting and fun, but it's not what the show's about. And it hasn't given us any reason to think that we should care too much about the other stuff, because it's basically, oh, what happens if he beats a game? Okay. What happens if it was a very good game? Well, you know, most people who like watching other people beat very good games like to do it for the kind of empathetic response, and that's usually comes from, oh, I'm watching you play the video game and I'm enjoying it through you. So if it's a real video game, somebody actually doing it, then you're enjoying them actually doing it. If it's a game you've already played, you're enjoying going back and replaying it through that person. Stuff like that. But Shangri-La Frontier and Vermo Life are not doing that. Mostly the problem being that, okay, well, it's given games, but, you know, it's not like it defined at the front what the rules of the games were, and we're just watching the characters do something clever with it. It gets to make up the rules as it goes. And so, to that degree, you don't really feel like you're watching somebody playing through a game. You're kind of just watching somebody more showing off this idea for a video game that they made into an anime. Kind of. I think it's putting it a lot more roughly than it actually is, but I think in a nutshell, that's why both of these are kind of eh. And the problem I have right now with Vermo Life is they had our main character experience a unique thing again, but this time, instead of it being something that he solved through stuff that he's done together, now it's like, oh, well, except he did have this OP thing that came from his unique experiences up to that point. Like, I think it's fine when a show or something gives our main character something that makes them unique and stand out and luckier than other people or something like that, because there's meaning behind, okay, what do they do with those? It's why Superman can be entertaining to watch. It's like, oh, he was lucky enough to be born a son of Krypton. It's like, okay, but sometimes it can be really inspirational to see him, like, save people from a natural disaster, or you know, just stuff like that. And Vermo Life, I think, doesn't understand that. It had a thing happen, but it's like, okay, well, it wasn't by his own power. It was by power that was given to him, but it was just a power that was luckily given to him. It's like, but it was something artificially created by the creators of the show. So, it feels kind of meaningless. Dead Mount Deathplay, episode 18. Again, a little annoyed that it's like it seems to be obsessed with introducing more new characters, when I feel like the show just needs stuff to happen to characters that we actually care about. But at least as it came closer to the end of the episode, it finally had stuff to do with Corpse God himself. And the important thing to note here is, you know, some of the reason these last couple of episodes have been frustrating is because, like, okay, the anime established he's the interesting character. The events of this are supposed to be relevant to him, so we should be seeing things more from his perspective as relates to others. And there's been stuff that's worked up to this point because some of the other characters are, an extension of that stuff. I'm just checking the time to make sure I'm not going too long and the pie is going to get too cold. I've still got pies to cut in plastic and refrigerate. Anyways, the point is, when you go with characters that are around him, some of them can kind of work. Like the stuff that was happening with the assassin girl is still interesting because she's very closely tied with him. The same thing with the information drone guy. He's still tied to our main character. You have some other characters like, okay, well, they feel kind of sort of there, but they also feel like they were just kind of shoehorned in. And what's some of the purposes? You're giving us more reason to say, oh, well, we wanted to make this a story about this character and not any of our main character or characters directly around him. At this point, you're kind of like going a couple degrees away from him, and it's just like, I don't know. I can't help but feel like maybe based on this, the other anime this person made, maybe they think they're smarter than they actually are. It's a horrible thing to say, but I can't help but think it because from a certain perspective, I think there's just narrative no-nos that could just be done better. I think of like the movie Primer. I saw somebody talking really positively about it, and it's like, I do appreciate some of the stuff it was doing in there because there was a lot of thought in there. But the reason I don't really like it as a movie is because I feel like part of the reason it's confusing is because the movie deliberately shuts down its ability to try to tell you what happened. And I know some people kind of like that because I guess they can kind of sit there, scratch their head and say, oh, well, I can just figure this out. But to me, it feels more like it got too complicated for them to make something, so they stopped making it and just let the audience just plug it in. And I think there's a lot of value to leaving things out. One of the reasons I really liked Sword Art Online Season 1 was the time skips, because it doesn't tell you, the details of everything that happened there. It kind of lets you fill in the details based on, well, here's where he was when it started, here's what our main character's doing after that, so we can kind of imagine what his time during that might have been like. And at the same time, we can also say, and that's why they also didn't show it, because it's not that interesting to watch. It's interesting to think about. But Primer's doing something really smart with its stuff, but then it stops explaining it. I'm like, guess you didn't really want me to follow you anyways. Oh well. But, there's definitely a bit of that. That's my own opinion. And maybe I just missed something when I watched it. I mean, it's happened before. I enjoyed Paprika a lot more when I rewatched it and said, okay, instead of thinking about this with something that's a story with something that ends like a story, this movie is more like a dream that just flows from idea to idea with a bunch of nonsense and then ends on nonsense like a dream does, because dreams don't end like good stories do. And then that's good, that works out, because then, Paprika is a movie about dreams and reality and dreams mixing with the storytelling element that makes it kind of like a dream. And I might just be missing that feeling just from not watching Primer a whole lot, but for the most part, I feel like more of the confusion from Primer comes from its deliberate choice to stop telling a cohesive narrative in terms of what it's doing and just more throw a bunch of shit at you at the very end, like Moonlight Night or whatever. So, I don't know. There's my babbling. Is there anything else to talk about? I guess I highly appreciate the fact that Chucky is now a killer in Dead by Daylight. Mostly because the way behavior put him in the game is just phenomenal. I haven't tried to play as him yet, so I can't really say if his power is great or clunky or whatnot. But I can say that it almost doesn't matter, because I guess I'll be firing up to try to hit people with his lunging attack thing, because that's probably what his daily is going to be. But I'm not sure if I'm not pronouncing Brad's name right, but was it Brad? Brad Dourif? the guy who played the original voice of Chucky. It's my understanding he did the voices here, and he's got a lot of voice lines, and it is nice. Very good job. Very interesting killer execution. The perks are interesting. Do I know anything about their balance? I don't know. And I've heard that the Trickster rework he's definitely overtuned. He's way too oppressive now. I'm trying to remember if I can explain the details on why, but certainly some of the problem is that he never runs out of knives. Because you can use one of his add-ons to make it where his knives reloads. Now, I do believe that's an iridescent one, so you don't get those as common, but basically, you hit somebody enough times to trigger main event, which is ridiculously easy to trigger, and then you use main event, and then you have knives again. So, he just manages to keep throwing. But, yeah, it sounds like something there probably needs to be tweaked. I don't know what. Beyond that, do I have anything else to talk about? Next week is Thanksgiving week, so hopefully, y'all are all prepared. If you don't normally cook, maybe you can see about helping somebody cook or get a, I don't know. I guess I'm trailing off in terms of what exactly I'm thinking. I guess I'm just saying, y'all hang in there. At least I'm trying to, so maybe I'm projecting that on y'all. And y'all, have a nice week.